The church doors burst open so hard that one of the glass panels shattered. The sound echoed through the sanctuary. Guests screamed. Several women jumped to their feet. A little girl dropped her basket of flower petals. And standing at the front of the church, dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit, Kang Yamin instantly moved in front of Amara. His body became a shield. His eyes turned cold, deadly. The kind of cold that had built empires and destroyed enemies. The kind that made grown men rethink their choices. A group of armed men stormed down the aisle. The guests panicked. Some ducked behind pews, others rushed toward the exits. Security immediately reached for their weapons. For a brief second, chaos consumed the room, then a voice rang out. "Nobody move." The lead intruder raised a handgun. His gaze locked onto Amara, straight onto her. Not Yamin, not the guards, her. Amara's heart pounded. Something about the man's eyes felt familiar, not his face, not his voice. His eyes, as if she had seen them somewhere before, long ago. The man slowly lifted an old photograph, yellowed, worn, damaged by time. "Before this wedding happens," he shouted, "she deserves to know the truth." Church fell silent. Amara's breath caught. The photograph trembled slightly in the man's hand, then she saw it. A man, tall, strong, dark-skinned, standing beside a younger version of her mother. The world seemed to stop. No, it couldn't be. Her knees nearly gave out, because she knew exactly who the man was. Or at least who he was supposed to be, her father. The father everyone claimed had died 20 years ago. The father she had buried in her heart. The father she had spent years mourning. The father standing alive inside that photograph. "Impossible," she whispered. Yamin looked at her. The concern in his eyes was immediate. Amara. But she barely heard him. The church disappeared. The guests disappeared. Everything disappeared. All she could see was that photograph. The man smiled slowly. "Your father is alive." Room exploded with gasps. Amara staggered backward. "No, it's the truth." Filled her eyes. "He's dead. That's what they wanted you to believe." Yamin stepped forward. "Enough." Temperature in the room seemed to drop instantly. The intruder laughed. "You always protect her, because she is mine to protect." Man's smile faded. "And that's exactly why you're standing in the way." Security finally surrounded the intruders, weapons drawn, ready, dangerous. But the man didn't look afraid, not even a little. Instead, he looked at Amara again. "Find him." Then he dropped the photograph, turned around, and surrendered without resistance, just like that, as if delivering the message had been his only mission. Amara stared at the photograph lying on the floor, her entire body shaking. The wedding dress suddenly felt heavy. The church felt too small. The air felt impossible to breathe. Yamin immediately took her hands. "Look at me." She couldn't. "Amara." His voice softened. "Look at me." Slowly she lifted her eyes. The concern on his face nearly broke her. "What if it's true?" Her voice cracked. "What if he's alive?" Yamin squeezed her hands. "Then we'll find him." The tears came instantly, because there was something powerful about hearing someone say, "We." "You, not me, we." The church remained silent, everyone watching, everyone waiting. But Yamin didn't care about any of them, only her, only Amara, only the woman who had somehow become more important than everything else. Even his empire, even his name, even his family. And that was exactly the problem, because his family hated it 6 months earlier. A private jet landed just after sunrise. Amara stood near the window staring out at the city below, Lagos, the place where her family's story had started, the place where everything had been taken from her, the place where she would finally rebuild what had been lost. Her stomach tight. She hadn't slept during the flight. Too many thoughts, too many fears, too many questions. A soft knock came from behind her. Yamin walked closer. Neither of them spoke immediately. Silence had become dangerous between them lately, not because something was wrong, because too much felt right, and neither knew what to do with it. "You don't have to go." Amara smiled sadly. "Yes, I do." His jaw tight. "I can help. I know." "Then let me." She turned toward him. Those dark eyes were watching her again, always watching her, as if he could somehow keep her safe through sheer determination. But some journeys had to be taken alone. "You spent your whole life protecting people." She stepped closer. "This time I need to learn how to protect myself." Something flickered across his face, pride, pain, maybe both. The truth was simple. Amara loved him. She hadn't said it, neither had he, but they both knew, and that made leaving hurt a lot. "Call every day." Yamin nodded. "You better." She laughed softly. "Is that an order?" "Yes." A pause, then his expression softened. "And a request?" Heart squeezed. Moments like this were dangerous, because they made leaving harder, much harder. She looked away first. Otherwise, she might not leave at all, and that would be a mistake. Because she had spent most of her life depending on luck, depending on survival, depending on other people. Now she needed something different. She needed herself. Hours later, as the plane carried her across continents, Yamin stood alone inside his study. The mansion felt empty, too quiet. His right-hand man entered. "She's gone." Yamin didn't answer. The silence said enough. A smile appeared on the man's face. "You miss her already." Yamin finally looked up. "I didn't ask for your opinion." Man laughed. "You never do." Another silence, then Yamin leaned back, double security around her. "Already done? Triple it." Man blinked. "Boss, triple it." Right-hand man sighed. "You know she's going to be angry." "Don't care. She specifically said she didn't want bodyguards following her." "I don't care." Man laughed again. Because this wasn't the Kang Yamin he had known for years. The old Yamin cared about power, money, control, strategy. The new one cared about one woman, and everyone could see it. Everyone except the two people involved. Back in Lagos, Amara quickly discovered rebuilding a legacy wasn't as glamorous as it sounded. Most of the anime assets were gone, sold, stolen, hidden, frozen. Every day brought a new problem. Every meeting brought another obstacle. Every door seemed locked. Some people welcomed her. Others openly doubted her. One businessman laughed in her face. "Just a girl." Amara smiled politely. "I own 51% of this company." Man stopped laughing. She leaned forward. "So let's start again." His smile vanished. Moments like that became common because people saw her face and expected weakness. Then they heard her speak and realized they had underestimated her again and again and again. Months passed. Her confidence grew. Her name grew. Her influence grew. So did the rumors. The media couldn't stop talking about her. The lost anime heir. The mafia boss's woman. Billionaire cook. The woman who survived death. Every newspaper wanted her story. Every interviewer wanted access. Every enemy started paying attention. And unfortunately, so did the Kang family. Thousands of miles away, inside a conference room in Seoul, several members of the Kang family sat around a polished table. Not one of them looked happy. At the head sat Kang Hae-jin, Yamin's aunt, powerful, intelligent, ruthless. The kind of woman who smiled while destroying careers. She closed a magazine. Amara's face stared back from the cover. "I don't like this." Nobody argued because everyone knew exactly what she meant. A board member cleared his throat. "She is becoming popular." "That's the problem." Another man spoke. "Public likes her." Hae-jin's eyes narrowed. "I don't care what the public likes." Silence. Then she leaned forward. "What happens when she becomes Mrs. Kang?" Nobody answered, because everyone knew Amara wasn't just a woman. She represented change, and powerful families hated change, especially when they couldn't control it. Hae-jin folded her hands. "We need to stop this before it goes too far." Meanwhile, completely unaware of the meeting, Amara sat alone on her balcony. The city lights stretched endlessly below. Her phone rang. She smiled immediately. Yaminchi answered before the second ring. "You called late." His voice came through instantly. "You answered fast." "I wasn't waiting." "You were." She laughed. The sound made him smile, though she couldn't see it. "How was your day?" "Tiring." "Mine too." "Family?" "Family." She groaned. He laughed. For several minutes they simply talked about nothing, about everything, about food, about work, about memories, about dreams, the kind of conversation people only have when they genuinely enjoy each other. Then silence settled, comfortable silence, rare silence, the kind neither wanted to break. Finally Amara spoke. "You ever get scared?" "Of what?" A question lingered. Yamin looked out his window, thinking carefully, honestly. "Every day." Her breath caught. "Really?" "Yes." "Why?" A long pause, then he answered. "Because I finally found something I don't want to lose." Amara closed her eyes, her heart completely defenseless, and for the first time since leaving Korea, she wished she was standing beside him, not thousands of miles away, not separated by oceans, not separated by responsibilities, beside him, exactly where she wanted to be. And neither of them realized that somewhere in Seoul, Kang Hae-jin had already started planning a war. A war that would soon threaten everything they had built, everything they loved, and everything they believed could never be taken away. The first warning arrived on a Tuesday morning. It looked harmless. Just another envelope sitting on Amara's desk, no return address, no company logo, nothing unusual. She almost ignored it, almost. But something about it felt wrong. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was experience. Either way, she opened it carefully. Inside was a single sheet of paper, nothing more, no signature. No explanation, just 6 words. "Leave Kang Yamin before it's too late." Amara stared at the message, then laughed, not because it was funny, because it was predictable. The moment she became visible, people started trying to scare her. The moment she became important, people started trying to control her. The moment she chose Yamin, someone decided they didn't like it. She folded the paper, dropped it into the trash, and went back to work. Unfortunately, the next warning wasn't as easy to ignore. That evening, one of her company vehicles exploded. Luckily, nobody was inside, but the message was clear. Someone was escalating fast. Her phone rang immediately. Yamin, she answered. Hello. What happened? Straight to business, no greeting, no small talk. His voice was already dangerous. Take it you've heard. I heard your vehicle exploded. I'm fine. Silence then, that's not the point. His tone made her smile despite everything. Okay, Yamin. I know. Another pause. But someone is getting very comfortable. Amara leaned back in her chair. What do you think? I think this isn't random. Neither do I. His voice dropped. I want you surrounded by security. She rolled her eyes. Here we go again. No, I already have security. You have 4 guards. I have 8. You need 20. Amara laughed. I'm not running a country. No, his voice became even colder. Running around making yourself a target. She smiled. There he was. The man who could terrify criminals but somehow sounded worried every time he talked to her. You worry too much. I don't worry enough. Some reason that answer stayed with her long after the call ended, because beneath all his control, all his power, all his reputation, he genuinely cared. And that scared her more than the threats. Far away in Seoul, Kang Haejin sat inside a private dining room. Several board members sat around her. Everyone looked nervous. Haejin never called meetings without a reason. And her reasons were usually expensive. One man cleared his throat. The attacks have started, she nodded. And she isn't reacting. Haejin's expression hardened, then increased pressure. Another board member hesitated. Should we really be doing this? The room became silent, dangerously silent. Haejin slowly turned toward him. What exactly are you asking? The man swallowed. Yamin won't like this. For a moment nobody moved, nobody breathed. Then Haejin smiled, which somehow made everything worse. I'm not trying to make him happy. Man immediately looked away, because everyone in that room knew something. Kang Yamin was feared, but Kang Haejin, she was patient. And patient enemies were often the most dangerous. 3 days later, Yamin arrived in Lagos unannounced. Amara was halfway through a meeting when her assistant rushed into the room. You have a visitor, she frowned. I told everyone no interruptions. I know. Assistant looked confused. Nobody could stop him. Amara immediately knew. Only one person in the world produced that reaction. She stood up, walked into the hallway, and there he was, tall, calm, perfectly dressed, looking completely out of place among the chaos of her office. Yet somehow owning the space anyway, her heart immediately betrayed her again. What are you doing here? His eyes scanned her face, almost as if making sure she was real, making sure she was safe. Then he answered, I was nearby. Amara laughed. Nearby? Yes, you flew across continents. A pause. I was nearby. She laughed harder, and for the first time all week, the stress disappeared just like that, because somehow Yamin had become her peace, and she hated how much she liked that. Later that evening they sat together on the balcony of her penthouse. The city glowed beneath them, warm air drifted through the night. For once neither was working, neither was fighting, neither was carrying responsibilities. They were simply 2 people enjoying each other's company, a rare luxury. Yamin looked toward the skyline. Changed. Amara smiled. Good change or bad change? Good. His answer came immediately. No hesitation, no doubt. You carry yourself differently now. She looked away thinking maybe he was right. 6 months ago she was surviving, now she was building, creating, leading, fighting, growing. Finally know who I am. His eyes softened. Yes. Simple word carried more meaning than she expected. For a moment neither spoke. Then Amara asked quietly, what if your family never accepts me? Yamin's expression changed instantly, not uncertainty, not fear, annoyance. They don't decide my life. They're still your family. They are, she studied him. You make it sound easy. It's not. The first time that night he looked tired, really tired. They've been pushing, her stomach tight. How bad? His silence answered before his words did. Very bad. Finally he sighed. My aunt wants me married to someone else. Amara wasn't surprised, not really. Powerful families always had plans, always had expectations, always had opinions. What did you tell her? Yamin's eyes locked onto hers. I told her no. Simple, direct, final, exactly like him. Amara smiled softly. You make enemies very easily. I learned from you, she laughed. Then something happened, something unexpected. Yamin smiled back, a real smile, not the rare half-smirk she occasionally saw, not the cold satisfaction he wore during business meetings. A genuine smile, warm, human, beautiful. For a second Amara forgot how to breathe, and judging by the look on his face, noticed, neither looked away, neither moved. The world seemed to disappear, the city, the noise, the responsibilities, everything. Just two people and one dangerous moment. Then his phone rang, the spell shattered instantly. Yamin answered. His expression changed after 3 seconds. By 5 seconds it became deadly. By 10 seconds Amara already knew something was wrong, very wrong. He ended the call slowly, carefully, the way people handled explosives. What happened? His jaw tight. A board member resigned. Okay. Publicly accused you. Amara froze. What? Yamin handed her the phone. Her stomach dropped. A news article filled the screen. The headline was impossible to miss. Is AMARAADAMEI using KANGYIMIN for power? She stared, reading, scrolling, getting angrier with every word. Lies, half-truths, manipulation, character attacks. The article painted her as a gold digger, a social climber, a woman chasing power. When she finished reading, her hands were shaking, not from fear, from anger. Yamin watched carefully, waiting. Then she surprised him. She laughed, actually laughed. What? Amara handed back the phone, scared, his eyebrow lifted. Scared? Yes. She stood, walked toward the balcony railing, looking out across the city. If I wasn't a threat, they wouldn't attack me. Silence. Then Yamin smiled slightly because she was right. And because 6 months ago she would have cried, now she fought back. The transformation was remarkable and incredibly attractive. Unfortunately, their enemies weren't finished. Not even close. The next attack came 2 weeks later. This time it wasn't directed at Amara. It was directed at Yamin. The Kang Group stock dropped nearly 15% overnight. Rumors spread. Investors panicked. Media outlets exploded with speculation. And behind everything, one name kept appearing: Kang Hye-jin. Officially, she denied involvement. Unofficially, everyone knew. Yamin sat inside his office staring at the reports. His executives looked terrified. Millions were disappearing fast. One man finally spoke. What should we do? Yamin leaned back, calm, far too calm, the kind of calm that usually meant someone was about to regret their choices. Then his phone vibrated. A message from Amara, only 4 words: kick her ass. For a second he stared, then laughed, actually laughed. The executives nearly fell out of their chairs, because nobody remembered the last time Kang Yamin laughed during a crisis. He typed back immediately, that's the plan. And for the first time in weeks, he felt something dangerous growing inside him: hope. Because every attack was pushing them closer together. Every obstacle was making them stronger. Every enemy was reminding him exactly what mattered. Not the company, not the money, not the power, her. And very soon, his family was about to discover exactly how far he was willing to go for the woman he loved. The storm arrived on a Friday morning, not outside, not in the markets, not in the media. Inside the Kang family itself. And for the first time in years, Kang Yamin was the center of it. The emergency family meeting had been called at sunrise. Every major shareholder was present, every board member, every senior family representative, every person who believed they had the right to tell Yamin how to live his life. The atmosphere inside the conference room felt heavy, dangerous, like a battlefield disguised as a boardroom. Yamin sat at the far end of the table, calm, silent, unbothered, at least on the surface. Across from him sat Kang Hye-jin. Her expression was perfectly composed, but her eyes were sharp, calculating, waiting. The room finally settled. Hye-jin folded her hands. We need to discuss the future of Kang Group. Yamin looked at her. No. Several people shifted uncomfortably. Hye-jin blinked. No. His voice remained calm. Future of Kang Group isn't up for discussion. A man cleared his throat. With respect, Chairman Kang. Yamin didn't even look at him. Be careful. Room immediately fell silent. Everyone knew that tone. Everyone knew that warning. Still, Hye-jin pushed forward. This isn't about business. Then it's not important. Few people exchanged nervous glances. The meeting was already going badly and it had barely started. Hye-jin leaned forward. It's about Amara. Temperature in the room instantly dropped. Yamin's eyes darkened dangerously. What about her? A woman spoke. Her presence is creating instability. Another added. Investors are concerned. Someone else nodded. Media attention is becoming excessive. One after another, excuses, complaints, criticism, all aimed at the same person, Amara. Yamin listened quietly, very quietly, too quietly. Finally he spoke. Are you finished? Nobody answered. Good. He stood slowly. The room became completely still, because Kang Yamin rarely stood during meetings, and when he did, someone usually suffered. You attack her because you can't control her. Nobody moved. You criticize her because she's succeeding. Still silence. You fear her because she earned what she has. Haijin's jaw tight. Blinded, Yimin looked directly at her. No, a pause. The first time in my life I see clearly. Room froze because everyone understood what he meant. And everyone understood what it cost him to say it out loud. Without another word, Yimin walked out, leaving them behind, leaving the argument behind, leaving the family behind for now. But deep down he knew this wasn't over, not even close. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, Amara was facing a different battle. The conference hall was packed. Journalists filled every seat. Cameras pointed toward the stage. Lights everywhere, questions everywhere, pressure everywhere. Today was important, very important. The official relaunch of Anime Holdings. Years ago her family empire had collapsed. Today it would officially return. Amara stood behind the curtain taking a deep breath. Her assistant smiled nervously. Ready? No. Woman laughed. Good. Amara blinked. You're nervous, it means you care. Amara smiled. Maybe she was right. The crowd outside continued growing louder, waiting, watching. Expecting, for years people had spoken about the lost anime heir. Now they were finally about to meet her. The announcer's voice echoed through the hall. Ladies and gentlemen. Applause erupted. Please welcome. Even louder applause. Amara Anime. Curtain opened. And suddenly there was nowhere to hide. Amara stepped forward. The lights nearly blinded her. The applause thundered through the room. For a brief moment she froze, not from fear, from emotion. Because 6 months ago she had been scrubbing pots in a mansion kitchen. Invisible, forgot. Now thousands of people stood to welcome her. Her mother would never believe this. The thought almost made her cry, almost. Instead she smiled, walked to the podium, and began speaking. My name is Amara Anime. Room quieted immediately. And for many years I didn't know who I was. Silence. Every eye focused on her. Every camera recording. Every journalist listening. She took another breath. Today isn't about my past. A pause, it's about our future. Applause exploded again. And somewhere in Seoul, Kang Yamin watched the entire speech live alone inside his office. A small smile appeared on his face. One of the executives noticed, then immediately looked away, because seeing Kang Yamin smile twice in the same month already felt unnatural. When the speech ended, Yamin replayed it, then replayed it again and again. His assistant finally walked in. Boss, no response. Boss, Yamin looked up. What? The assistant pointed at the screen. You've watched it 4 times. So, the assistant laughed. Got it bad. Yimin's stare could have frozen lava. Unfortunately, the assistant knew him too well. You love her. Silence. A very long silence. Then, get out. Assistant grinned. That's not a denial. Out. Assistant left laughing, which annoyed Yimin even more, because the man was right, completely right, and for the first time in his life. That realization didn't scare him, it terrified him. Later that night, Amara finally called. The moment Yamin answered, she knew something was different. What happened? He frowned. What do you mean, something happened? A pause. You always get quieter when you're thinking too much. Yamin shook his head. Sometimes he forgot how observant she was. Speech was good. Amara laughed. That's not what happened. Silence then. My family called another meeting. Her smile faded. Oh, what did they say? The usual. She sighed. Yamin. No. His answer came immediately firm. Final, whatever she was about to suggest, he already knew, and he already disagreed. Listen to me. No, a laugh escaped her. You don't even know what I'm going to say. You're going to suggest taking a step back. She froze because that was exactly what she planned to say. His voice softened. Don't. The single word carried more emotion than an entire speech. Amara looked out at the city lights, thinking carefully. Maybe they're right. If I'm causing problems. No. No. She laughed despite herself. You are unbelievably stubborn. Are you? That's different. It's exactly the same. Silence settled between them, comfortable, warm. Then Yamin spoke again, quietly this time. Do you know what my biggest problem is? Amara smiled. There are so many options. Amara, sorry. A pause, then his voice became serious. My biggest problem is that every time something happens. He stopped thinking, searching for the words, and when he finally found them, they hit her straight in the heart. My first thought is always you. Amara's breath caught. She couldn't speak, couldn't move, couldn't think, because she knew he wasn't the type of man who said things he didn't mean. Every word mattered, every word carried weight, and this one carried a lot. Finally she whispered, Yimin. But before she could continue, her office door burst open. Her head of security rushed inside, pale, breathing hard, panicked. Amara immediately stood. What happened? The man's face looked grim, very grim. We have a problem. Stomach dropped. What kind of problem? The guard swallowed, then answered. Archives were attacked. Silence, every muscle in Amara's body tightened. Family archives, the man nodded. Yes, her blood ran cold because the Adame archives weren't just records, they contained history, evidence, secrets, information, things people killed for. What was taken? The guard looked uncomfortable. Only one file. Amara's heart pounded. Which file? The answer came slowly, like the man didn't want to say it. Your father's. The room went completely silent. Even Yamin stopped breathing on the other end of the phone because suddenly, the mystery from the church, the warnings, the attacks, the pressure, everything seemed connected. And neither of them liked what that meant, not one bit. Amara grabbed her keys. I'm going there. Yamin's voice exploded through the phone. No, absolutely not. Her jaw tightened. It's my family. It's a trap. You don't know that. Do. His tone left no room for argument, but Amara wasn't backing down. Not anymore. Not after everything she had fought for. Not after everything she had become. For a moment neither spoke. Neither surrendered, neither moved. Then Amara smiled slightly, a dangerous smile, the kind Yamin recognized immediately, and hated because it usually meant trouble. Going. No, already leaving. Amara. Late, she hung up. 3 seconds later her phone started ringing again. She ignored it, then it rang again, ignored again, ignored again, ignored. Finally a text message arrived. If you die, I'm going to be very angry. Amara burst out laughing right there in the middle of a crisis. Because only Kang Yamin could turn a threat into concern, and somehow make it sound romantic. What neither of them knew was that by sunrise, the biggest secret in the entire story was about to surface, and when it did, everything would change. Amara arrived at the Adame archives just before midnight. The building stood at the edge of the old family estate, dark, silent, almost forgotten. Rain fell steadily from the sky, the kind of rain that made everything feel heavier. Her security team surrounded the entrance. Flashlights moved across the property, weapons ready, eyes alert. The head of security met her near the gate. You shouldn't be here. Amara kept walking. That seems to be everyone's favorite sentence lately. Man sighed. Because arguing with her was becoming impossible, and somehow that reminded him of someone else. Kang Yamin inside the archive building, the damage was obvious. Broken locks, forced cabinets, scattered documents. Someone had searched this place thoroughly, and they had known exactly what they wanted. Amara moved directly toward the records room, her heart pounding harder with every step. The file cabinet containing her father's records stood open, empty. The folder was gone. Nothing else had been touched. Not the financial records, not the company documents, not the property deeds. Only one file, one target, one purpose. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were after. Security chief nodded, professional. Amara stared at the empty space, thinking, trying to understand. Then something caught her eye, a tiny piece of paper stuck beneath the cabinet, almost invisible. She knelt down, carefully pulled it free, and immediately froze, because it wasn't a random piece of paper. It was a photograph, old, damaged. Torn but recognizable, very recognizable. A younger version of her father stood beside another man. The second man's face had been partially ripped away, almost intentionally, as if someone didn't want him identified. Amara turned the picture over. Words had been written on the back, 3 words, trust no one. Her stomach dropped. A chill ran through her body, because she recognized the handwriting. She had seen it before, years ago, in one of her mother's recipe journals. The note had been written by her father. The room suddenly felt smaller, harder to breathe in. Someone had taken the file. But someone else had left her a warning, and that meant one thing: there were at least 2 sides involved, maybe more. Her phone vibrated. Yamin again. This time she answered. Hello. His voice came instantly. Tell me where you are. She smiled. You already know. I want to hear you say it. I'm at the archives. A long silence followed, the dangerous kind. The kind that usually ended badly for somebody. Finally he spoke. Did you find anything? Amara looked at the photograph. Maybe. That's not reassuring. It isn't supposed to be. His sigh came through the speaker. Then another voice appeared in the background, one of his executives, talking, urgent, panicked. Yamin immediately muted the call. A minute later he returned. His tone had changed. Something was wrong, very wrong. What happened? Yamin didn't answer immediately. That alone scared her. My aunt just made her move. Amara froze. What kind of move? The board is demanding an emergency vote. Her stomach tightened. What? Silence then. To remove me. Rain outside suddenly felt louder, the room felt colder because this wasn't family drama anymore, this was war, a real war, the kind that destroyed careers, destroyed legacies, destroyed people. They can't do that. They can try. Amara closed her eyes, everything was happening at once, the stolen file, the threats, the attacks, the board, the family. The mystery surrounding her father, and somehow all of it seemed connected, as if invisible threads were pulling everything together. Yimin. Yes, be careful. A small laugh escaped him. I was about to tell you the same thing. Despite everything, she smiled because even now, even during a crisis, they were worried about each other. Before she could reply, another voice interrupted. Adame, she turned. One of the guards stood near the doorway, his face pale, concerned, almost frightened. What is it? The guard swallowed. We found someone. Amara's pulse quickened. What do you mean? The guard hesitated, then answered. In the basement. The call ended immediately, not because Yamin hung up, because Amara did. She was already moving. The basement stairs were narrow, old, dust covered everything. The air smelled like age, secrets, history. The deeper they went, the quieter it became. Finally, they reached the bottom. A single room waited at the end of the hallway. The door hung slightly open. One of the security officers stepped aside. Amara walked in and stopped. A man sat tied to a chair, bruised, bleeding, terrified. His eyes widened the moment he saw her. No, his voice trembled. No, 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 Amara frowned. Who are you? The man's breathing became frantic, as if seeing her had somehow made things worse, much worse. Not supposed to be here. What? You're not supposed to know. Room went silent. Amara stepped closer. What are you talking about? The man shook his head violently. Fear flooded his face, raw fear, genuine fear. The kind that couldn't be faked. Then he whispered something that made every person in the room freeze. They lied about your father. Amara's heart stopped. What? The man looked directly at her. He's alive. Room spun, not because it was new information, but because this was now the third independent person claiming the same thing. The church intruder, the stolen file, now this man, three separate sources, one impossible truth. Her father might actually be alive. Where is he? The question exploded out of her. The man opened his mouth, then suddenly stopped. His eyes widened, looking past her, looking toward the doorway. Amara turned. Nothing, no one, just darkness. Then bang, the gunshot echoed through the room. The man jerked violently, blood appeared on his shirt. Several guards immediately drew weapons. Chaos erupted. Get down. Amara hit the floor as security rushed toward the entrance. More shouting followed, running footsteps. Then silence, dead silence. The sniper was gone, the attacker had vanished, and the witness. The witness was dead. Amara stared at the floor, her entire body shaking. They had been seconds away, seconds. Whoever was behind this had just eliminated the only person who might have known the truth. Tears burned her eyes, not from sadness, from frustration, from helplessness, from rage. Because every answer seemed to create 10 more questions. Hours later, she sat alone inside her penthouse, unable to sleep, unable to think, unable to stop replaying the night. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Her assistant stepped inside. You need to see this. Amara looked up. What now? The woman handed over a tablet. A news article filled the screen. The headline immediately caught her attention. KANG Group Board votes to remove KANG. Yimin. Her heart dropped. What? She opened the article. Read faster, then faster, then faster. The emergency meeting had happened. The vote had been called, and somehow the board had enough support. A formal decision would happen in 48 hours. 48 hours. After everything Yamin had built, after everything he had sacrificed, his own family was trying to destroy him for choosing her. The realization hit hard, too hard, because suddenly this wasn't abstract anymore. People weren't attacking her, they were attacking him through her. The guilt settled heavily inside her chest. Her phone rang. Yamin. She answered instantly. For a moment neither spoke, then she whispered, I'm sorry. Silence. Then, for what? They're doing this because of me. Response came immediately. No, Min, no. His voice hardened. They're doing this because they underestimated me. She wiped away a tear. You shouldn't have to fight everyone. Another pause, then something changed in his tone, something softer, more vulnerable. I'd fight the entire world for you. Amara closed her eyes, her heart completely defenseless, because she believed him, every word, every syllable, every promise, and that scared her, because nobody had ever chosen her like this before, nobody. Then Yamin spoke again, quietly, carefully, as if revealing something important. Amara, when this is over, her breath caught. When what is over, the family, a pause, war, another pause, the chaos, silence. Then, I need to ask you something. Her heart started racing fast, dangerously fast, because suddenly she knew not what he was going to say but where his mind was heading, and for the first time in her life, the possibility of a future felt real, not survival, not rebuilding, not fighting, a future. Unfortunately, someone else had plans. Far away inside a private office, Kang Haejin looked at a photograph. A photograph of Amara. Slowly she placed it on her desk, then picked up her phone. Proceed. Person on the other end answered immediately. Are you sure? Haejin's eyes hardened, completely. A pause, then she delivered the order that would change everything. Bring me the girl, and somewhere in the darkness, people started moving. Amara woke up to the sound of breaking glass. The explosion came first, then the alarms, then the screaming. Eyes snapped open. Every instinct inside her immediately activated. Years ago she would have panicked. Years ago she would have frozen. Not anymore. She rolled out of bed just as her bedroom door burst open. 3 security guards rushed inside. Miss Adame, one of them grabbed a radio. We have movement on the east side. Another voice crackled through the speaker. They breached the perimeter. Amara's heart slammed against her chest. Not fear, recognition. She had heard this kind of chaos before, felt it before. The night her family was destroyed. The night her old life ended. The memories came rushing back, too fast, too vivid. No, the guard looked at her. We have to move now. Side, another explosion shook the building. The lights flickered, then went dark. The entire penthouse plunged into darkness. Someone cursed. Flashlights immediately switched on. The guard grabbed her arm. Move. They rushed into the hallway. The entire floor had become chaos. Security teams running, guests evacuating, alarms screaming. Amara's pulse accelerated. Something felt wrong, very wrong. This wasn't a kidnapping. It wasn't an assassination. It was a distraction, a huge one. Then she realized it. Her eyes widened. Archives. The guard looked confused. What? The archives? Everything suddenly made sense. The break-in, the stolen file, the witness, the sniper. Someone was cleaning up evidence. And tonight was the final step. They weren't coming for her. They were coming for information. Her phone vibrated. Yaminchi answered instantly. Yimin. His voice exploded through the speaker. Where are you? Fine. That's not what I asked. Despite everything, she almost smiled. I'm leaving the building. His voice remained cold, controlled, dangerously controlled, the way it always became when he was worried. I'm on my way. Her stomach tightened. What? I'm already airborne. She stopped walking. What do you mean airborne? Silence. Then I'm on a plane. Yimin. I'm not having this conversation. The call ended. Amara stared at the phone. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. The man had apparently jumped onto a private jet the moment he heard about the attack. A small smile appeared despite the situation. Then another explosion echoed outside. The smile vanished. Hours later, sunrise painted the city gold. Amara stood near the destroyed entrance of the archive building. Smoke still drifted from the damage. Investigators moved everywhere. Photographs, evidence, reports, questions. Too many questions, not enough answers. A black SUV suddenly pulled into the parking area. The door opened, and Kang Yamin stepped out. His expression immediately found her. The relief that flashed through his eyes lasted less than a second. Then it disappeared, replaced by irritation. Amara crossed her arms, angry. Because I'm alive. Because you keep trying to get yourself killed. She laughed. The tension broke instantly. Yamin walked toward her, stopped directly in front of her, close, very close. For a moment neither spoke, neither moved. Then his hand gently touched her face, just for a second, making sure she was real, making sure she was unharmed. The gesture was so small, so simple, yet it nearly broke her heart, because nobody had ever worried about her like this. Nobody. Finally, he stepped back. What happened? The next hour passed quickly. Reports, evidence, security footage, witness statements. By the end of it, one thing became painfully clear. Whoever was behind the attacks was desperate, and desperate enemies made mistakes. Unfortunately, someone else was making mistakes too, Kang Haejin. The pressure she was applying to Yamin was becoming public, very public. Investors had started asking questions, journalists had started investigating, rumors were spreading. And for the first time, people were questioning her, not him, her. That realization made her furious. Inside her private office, she threw a folder across the room. The sound echoed loudly. The man standing nearby wisely remained silent, very silent. Haejin paced. How is this happening? No answer. She turned sharply. Answer me. Man swallowed. Public supports them. She hated hearing that. Public is irrelevant. Normally, yes, a pause, but not this time. Her eyes narrowed. What does that mean? The man hesitated, then continued. People see them as a love story. Silence, dangerous silence. billionaire and the lost heir. Another pause, powerful man who chose her. Haijin looked away because she understood narratives mattered, stories mattered, people loved stories. And right now the public was rooting for Amara and Yamin. That made attacking them much harder, especially publicly, which meant she needed another strategy, fast. Meanwhile, Amara and Yamin sat together on a balcony overlooking the city. The crisis had finally calmed for the moment. The wind moved softly around them. Neither seemed eager to break the silence. Finally, Amara spoke. "Do you ever wish we had met differently?" Yamin looked at her. "What do you mean?" She smiled. "I mean normally." A pause, no mafia wars. Another pause, no family drama. Another, no assassination attempts. The first time all day, Yamin laughed, a real laugh. "I met you because of food, exactly. You say that like it's strange. Is strange." His smile remained. "No, a pause, it's perfect." Amara felt her heart melt a little. Dangerous, very dangerous. Then his expression changed subtly, but enough for her to notice. "What?" Yamin looked toward the skyline, thinking carefully. The way he always did before saying something important. Finally he answered. "Been thinking." Her pulse quickened. That sentence usually meant trouble. "What about?" He looked directly at her. "Future." World suddenly felt quieter, much quieter, and for a moment Amara forgot how to breathe, because she knew not exactly what he planned to say, but she knew where his heart was going, and that terrified her, not because she didn't want it, because she did, more than she wanted to admit. Before either could continue, his phone rang. The timing couldn't have been worse. Yamin answered, his expression immediately darkened. Amara's stomach dropped. Bad news again. When the call ended, she already knew. "What happened?" Yamin stared at the screen, then slowly handed it to her. A photograph filled the display. The moment she saw it, her blood ran cold, because the man in the photograph was older, thinner, more tired, but unmistakable. The same man from the church photograph. The same man from the stolen file. The same man everyone believed was dead, her father, alive. Amara stood so quickly her chair nearly fell backward. "No." Yamin rose immediately. The message attached to the photograph contained only one sentence: "If you want answers, come alone." The air seemed to leave her lungs. Everything suddenly blurred. All these months, all these years, every question, every mystery, every lie, everything had led to this moment. Her father was alive. And somebody wanted her to know it. The question was why. Yamin took the phone back. His expression unreadable, dangerously unreadable. "We're not doing this." Amara looked at him. "What? We're not walking into a trap." It could be him. Could be bait. Could be both. Silence. Neither backed down, neither looked away. The tension stretched between them. Finally, Amara spoke. "What if it's really my father?" Yamin's jaw tightened. "What if it is?" The answer surprised her because there was pain in his voice. Real pain, not fear, pain, as if he already knew something she didn't. As if he already understood what finding her father might mean. Then he said quietly, "Then I'll help you find him." Amara's eyes filled instantly because once again, he chose her, not the easy path, not the safe path, her, always her. And deep down, neither of them realized that the next 48 hours would change everything. The board vote, the family war, the truth about her father, and a decision Yamin had been carrying in his heart for months. A decision that would soon leave Amara speechless. The boardroom was silent. 48 hours had passed. 48 hours of pressure. 48 hours of threats. 48 hours of negotiations, rumors, and backroom deals. And now the vote had finally arrived. Every seat around the massive conference table was occupied. Board members, senior executives, family representatives, powerful people who believed they controlled the future of Kang Group. At the head of the table sat Kang Yamin, calm, unmoved, dangerously calm. Across from him sat Kang Haijin,